So yeah, just kind of like where you at with the game, like just all that stuff. That's kind of what I want to hear right now.
Yeah. Right now, I think so. Like recently, I feel like I'm trying to just work more on like the aspect of like good like round planning and then just decision making. So just making sure I just don't like get lost in like the middle of the round and whatever.
Yeah, and I
So
think
like I'm
it's
setting myself into like similar pre-round positions so I can like replicate good rounds,
have
kind
a
of
little
like
bit of
that.
consistency.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through like a little bit of the VOD again. Is it the same thing, kind of what you were just talking about, like just working on like keeping your like consistent, so you can find more like consistent ways to open up rounds for yourself? Is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, like pistol, what I usually just want to do on Ascent is like take the long range fight from Cubby to Tiles with the Sheriff.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like I can convert that like a relatively consistent amount, like 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Auto does it twice.
And then I would just, if they don't come mid at all, I would just try to fight outdoor, like off timing.
And you're cube with your boy,
If like
right?
anyone is on site though, if there's no one on site, then I'm just like chilling behind door.
Okay.
Trying to
And
break it
you're
early.
cube with Waylay, right?
What do you mean?
You're cube with the Waylay, right?
Yeah, the Whaler.
Okay, so what I can say is, first and foremost, like this is good. Not necessarily like the decision. We'll talk about that in a minute. Not saying it's bad either, but what is good is that like you're thinking through the round. Like you already have like a step of like a plan of action for what you're gonna do. Like okay, if they come mid, I'm taking this fight with my dash and my long range weapon, and then if they don't come mid, I'm gonna be able to walk into this. Like that's really good because a lot of people don't actually start developing that sort of like foresight until like way later on. And this is like an easy way to improve, right? Because once you start giving yourself avenues of like, I'm going to do this and then this, like it kind of alters the way you make a decision. And once you have a more like the thing that's important about like learning the game and like starting to coach yourself in a way is once you give yourself like a more direct plan, it's so much easier to like learn from it because you weren't just kind of like doing some fuck shit. Like you were actually like, okay, this is what I'm planning on doing. Did it work or not? And it's a lot more direct. Does that make sense? So
Heavy A, looks like.
KJ A, yeah, 3, 4.
No one cap, no one cap.
Dude, I'm so cooked. On site. Jet gen.
okay. So
3, 4.
here's the problem. So, okay, once again, we talked about how we had a lot of foresight in the way we wanted to approach the round, right?
KJ A.
So what's going to happen from that, which is going to be a typical, like, back habit you're going to form, is you're going to start, like, using foresight and committing to it too hard. And this is an example of that. Like, you're looking for a fight top mid, right? And, like, it's typical for somebody to late lurk top mid, so I don't hate this peak. But we pop our dash. And the problem with that is we already have a lot more information that they're coming A at this point, right? Like, we fucking hear them sprinting. Right. So the issue is, it's not that you're trying to take a smarter fight using an ability. I don't hate that, but remember how earlier you said you like to take these fights because it was like 70%?
Yeah.
Well, you got to look at your plays like that too, right? So if we're taking, is using one of the best abilities in the game for a maybe fight like worth it, or should we maybe save that ability for where we know they're coming out at?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
I think there is definitely a meta case of using it.
Exactly. So the problem is we commit this ability, and generally speaking, if we knew they were mid, I'd be fine with this because like this gives us an advantage. Like the way I like to look at fights in this game is like a 1-to-1. It's just like if you go into a typical fight 1-on-1, like you typically like that's just how it is. The way you can give yourself an advantage of that is by using an ability, having a better weapon, having teammates, whatever the case may be, right? So like you give yourself an advantage here by having a deagle and the dash. That's great. I like that. But the problem is like we just kind of overcommit an ability that's so good when we know that they're doing something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we
I
end
feel like
up,
I wouldn't do this with an ISO shield or something. I wouldn't do it like that.
right,
But,
and that
like,
makes
I
sense.
probably
It's a
should have
bit
done
more,
dash
it's a bit
right
less
here
direct,
instead
but it's
in the
yes,
smoke.
exactly. So this is something we could have done better. And so I don't hate you actually swinging out of the smoke. Why do you think that? Why do you think this is okay? Like I like this a little bit.
I have like the Waylay on site, Omen peeking out heaven.
Yep, exactly. So that's good. And that's like this is positive stuff. But here's what thing is better. So they got destroyed. We could have. The thing is, if we wouldn't have dashed there, we could have been in a better position. Like let's just say here, like right in this spot with a dash. And as these guys are getting contact, we could have popped it and walked out. And then what could have happened is you might have actually drawn contact away from them. Maybe I can't guarantee that, of course. But
Dude, I'm so cooked.
and we could have easily gotten one and dashed out. And now all of a sudden we're safe. We get the +1. We're good. So and we end up like having to take this fight, and then we just get put in a shitty position because there's fucking 3 people looking at us, right?
Yeah.
So one easy way to like start thinking about the game, specifically because you're already like you're already doing a good job of telling me like how you give yourself foresight of the round. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about doing this. Like, blah blah blah. Like, that's all good, but let's increase those plays like 90% plays. Like, that's what you want to look for. That's a popular coin term in like typical coaching games. It's a lot more popular in like League per se, but 90% plays is what we want to do. We don't want to do something that's like a 50% chance of working, or like even a 70% chance is a little sketchy, right? But in this, we're like down to commit to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because you're using that and doing that, and that's like the thing as a duelist, right? Like the thing is you're doubled up. Like you have 2 duelists here, which is fine. And I know this isn't a team, but like this is where you'd pull like your util advantage. Like call for the one way. Maybe if Tejo is over here instead, call for his util. And like this is where like this you'll notice this in higher level Jets all the time. Like they're the ones calling for abilities, right? Like in my teams,
A main one way.
yeah, and that's just the most basic thing in the game, right? But like still, like that's good. Like you want to communicate that and get as much help as we can, because the other thing you need to think about is like this is a ranked game, right? Like we have 5 people that aren't really coordinating. Luckily, you have somebody to play with, which is good. But you have 5 people that are barely coordinating. They also have 5 people that are also probably barely coordinating. So the second you give yourself a bit of an advantage on like creating coordination because they're being stupid, like your life just becomes so much easier. So this is why like using your mic to your advantage is really good in this scenario. That's what...
Outside main, Tejo.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just a bad mechanic moment.
Yeah, what's the problem?
I just think I went crouching way too early. Because I thought I confirmed it, but I did not confirm the shot at all.
Ah, I see. Well, I'm not... Okay, so the crouch here isn't the issue. What's the problem? It's okay, so like let's slow down. I want you to think from his perspective. You're Tejo here. You know what? I'm gonna color code this shit because fuck it. Hell yeah, this shit's hard. So you're Tejo. You're holding this angle, and this guy, he crouches. Yeah, whatever. Like he goes for a crouch and he moves around. No big deal, right? But what's the problem now? You're sitting still, right? Mm-hmm. So is this fight like easy as fuck for him? Because you're sitting still? Exactly. So the problem is, I don't care that you crouched necessarily. The problem is, I hate that you committed to this fight and didn't give yourself any sort of like out. And out's not the word, I shouldn't say that. But like, you just become a sitting duck. All he has to do is strafe, and he's out of your crosshair, which is exactly what happened. And then, now you're just sitting still, and he just plays aim labs, and that's all he has to do. So that's why you lose the fight. Does that make sense? I want you to pay attention to your waylay, and see how that can relate to you a little bit.
Dude, I think they're...
What's the problem here? Back up a little more.
They're rushing it. I can't tell you.
Okay.
Is it just like a positioning thing?
It's kind of. So they, as enemies, are trying to clear the site, right? And this guy's, let's say as an example, clearing this, and then he clears this, and then he clears this, right? Well, Waylay's here. What kind of, where is Waylay at? Where the fuck is this character? Here you go. All right, so Jett successfully, this Jett is trying to isolate fights, right? Their Jett.
Right.
And she successfully does, because the Waylay is right here, your Waylay. I guess I should make it blue, just to make it easier for the sake of the game, right? And look where you are. You're right here.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you were right here, and Jett swings into this angle. Now it's a 2v1, and you can just fucking smoke her, right? Do you see what I mean? So this is like a map awareness and positioning thing, where I was
just not consistently lining myself up, right?
Right. You need to position yourself to where you're going to be naturally forcing them into 2v1. So they basically, Jett was able to isolate this 1v1 because you were here instead of here. Instead, what you could have done, and this is where just like high level over-unders come into play, right? You could have just simply moved to the left like 3 steps, and when this Jett takes this fight right now, those shots, you would have been there and you could have gotten this kill a little bit easier. The problem with this is, this is just not that great of a player, but hypothetically the ISO could have died here, like instantly. She could have just one-tapped his ass, right? And now they're not focused on him anymore. They're focused on you. And now you got to take like a 2v1. That swing from their Jett was trying to fight this ISO. If you would have already been more to the left, you would have just killed her. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. And everything else from that is pretty good. So like, but that's like one thing I want you to try and do more, is just comes down to see where your teammates are standing and play off of them. And I know this is your rank duo, which is fine, but in like your typical rank games, you're not going to be able to coordinate a lot of stuff with people, and people are going to also be taking kind of weird, questionable fights. This isn't like a bad fight necessarily, but you can prevent that by seeing where they are and playing off of them. That's like a big thing to be doing in your rank games. Is just literally watch what your team is doing and play accordingly. If people are scaling up to the left, we'll scale with them. Like, let's just assuming you're attacking, right? If people are like taking this fight, take it with them, right? Do you see what I mean?
I think this is my second op. Yeah, this is second op round.
Okay, so this smoke is horrible. Why? Just this isn't a you thing, but I'm just
info.
Correct. So if the other team knows we've been one-weighing this with an ability, and we all of a sudden don't do that, and we just smoke like this, they can just walk up.
Take it for free,
Exactly.
yeah.
He just cut off all your control. And another thing is, this is your second op round, right? Like you op last round, right?
No, I didn't op last round. This is like a few rounds ago. I had an op and we just lost.
But you still like have been opping. You're showing op presence, and they know you can have one based on your economy, right?
Yeah.
So when our Omen smokes this, what does that tell them?
It says ops not on A.
That's exactly correct. It tells you he's not opping A, so we could either go A or we can know that the op is somewhere else, right? So just obviously you didn't throw this. You're playing Jett in the VOD, I'm aware, but this is a good thing to consider. And I want still just game knowledge to like keep in mind. And you were aware of that. You got all the right answers there, so that's good. But yeah. W.
More with top cat. One top cat.
So we got an op kill. We have a numbers advantage, right? They think the op is probably mid, or at least they did. And you have a waylay sitting in like this weird off angle, right?
Yeah.
So you have an op. Like you can't really just like run out here, right? But what we could do is now that we have an advantage, we can just post up on a fucking angle and just take away everything from them. If they decide to walk peek this and contact it, they're just fucked. So what you could do, now you don't have dash, this is a little riskier, but what you could do is have your waylay, like swap with him, go sit in this off angle, or this angle, not an off angle. Here, you can even sit here, it's safer, and just post and just chill. Because like at this point, it's a ranked team. I gotta stop clicking this shit, dude. They're a ranked team, they're not thinking about like, they say, oh, op is mid, fuck mid. They're probably just gonna walk somewhere else now. Like exactly what happens. And this is exactly what they do. So imagine if you had more foresight here and you had actually moved over to heaven. And you would have been sitting right here. And guess where they're running up right now? Tree and a man.
Yeah.
And you would have been in you would have already fucking smoked these guys like by now. By the time they're flooding in a site right now, you would have at least got one more. And then at that point, it's so easy for you guys to win the 3v5, right? Okay, so what's the issue here? Once again, this is less of a rank thing and more of a team thing, but I'm trying to prep you for that. What's the problem?
I think we just like showed too much too early.
Yeah.
Really.
So remember the placebo control thing I was talking about?
Yeah.
And there's like a line of control on the map, like just within reason. It's the defense, offense, whatever. Well, the control that we have is this. That's it. So they could theoretically run all the way up here, do this. Now they're not gonna just sprint up these places, right? But we do not have an out here. So the problem is, if you 5-man something, you typically have to force it. And you guys do, which is good, only because you don't have really another choice. Like, obviously, okay, you have another choice. You could group and re-clear and, like, do something as a group, as like a 5, right? But you see what I mean? Like, we kind of dwindle all of our options to this one play. We kind of put all our eggs in one basket by, like, forcing ourselves to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the fact that you're thinking about splitting, because you're opening up your, like, more options. This is good. But we just gotta make sure everybody stays on the same page.
Dude,
so like your buddy kind of just trolled here. Like that's where you could have maybe told him more. And we end up running back B anyways. So like we're seeing a very consistent map control problem here, where we're just kind of just grouping up and hitting for like whatever reason. We feel like, oh fuck, we don't have any choices here, so I'm just gonna group and hit. When reality is that's like not the way like these rounds should be going. Do you see what I mean? Like if you just start giving yourself more options and just trying other stuff, and even just like fast splits, you don't have to necessarily be super slow and methodical and default. Just fucking fast split B. Like, yo, they're not playing mid. Let's split A. Let's run up cat fast. Like stuff like that is fine.
Yeah, that's what I just called right here.
Yeah, good. Okay, this is probably a better round. Oh, he fucking trolled. He did a good thing. He did the wrong thing, didn't he?
One front side. Yeah.
What's up, guys? This is KillerMiller from the future. I'm a dumbass and forgot to point this out during the VOD, so I'm just gonna explain it now. So one thing I didn't say is half the reason this KO is stuck in a really bad spot is because they actually created a split. In a lot of these rounds, we noticed that our Jett and his team were just 5-manning, And so it didn't really create any pressure anywhere else on the map. And so the enemy team was not having to consistently look anywhere else. They just had to keep their eyes on one spot. So by creating the split and doing the split in mid where they had their waylay dash and their killjoy ran up behind him, this KO was worried about the fact that they were about to flat out tree on him. So he ended up putting himself in a really shitty spot, and that ended up leading us to get this kill. So it's another advantage of actually doing splits and creating other scenarios other than just 5-manning in your games that you can be pulling off. And that's one thing that actually happened here. So you can actually see it in this exact scenario. So yeah, but I do like this round because you're not like trying to be overly super crazy methodical, but you are being fast with a poised decision, which is we're fast B splitting. We're going to use the blind to take the main fast. Tejo run up cat with killjoy. Cool. This is, sorry, waylay. Like, this is good. We give ourselves more options. We are not forced into one strat, which is hit A fast. We have options, right? This is good. The reason we lose this round is because we just lose this fight on this Jett. So how could you take this fight better? This is good. You check wine.
I don't know. I wanted to run and gun just because I thought it was like a close enough range.
I'd actually, the running gun is not necessarily dog shit, but you did low key just isolate yourself because this guy's here. True. By running at him here, he can just isolate that fight. So just like kind of wait, just like sit here and just literally let him peek you both. And like once again, if you think about what they're peeking into. If you guys are doubled up here and all of a sudden he wants to swing out of line, well, he's gonna look at both of you, but you run at him instead, and because of that, shit. He gets an isolated fight, and then he ends up killing 2 because of it. So, your tail kind of whiffs, but like, you don't even have to give yourself the opportunity to whiff if you force him to take a smaller fight, a harder fight, right? Now, obviously, standing here is like kind of risky because you're exposed to A man. So I don't hate the fact that you like run out here necessarily.
Yeah, but, no, A man was smoked off. It was fine.
Oh, okay, well, even better. Yeah, so that's fine. But you see what I mean, right? Yeah. Like, this is how like you're gonna start finding better kills and more fights. It's just like forcing yourself to be stuck together. Like I coached an Ascendant ISO like last week, and that's what he was doing a lot, was forcing himself to be pushed up a lot. And I was like, bro, if you just like he was like running up and his teammates were like a few feet behind him, and I was like, dude, if you just wait like 3 extra seconds and you guys run in like this instead, this is just an example, like you're gonna find so many better fights. And in a weird way of an example, that's kind of what happened this round, right? Does that make sense? So
yeah.
Start doing a better job of like trying to what's it called, like just give yourself easier fights. You're kind of forcing yourself into harder shit by doing all this, because you're forcing yourself into harder stuff by running into them as 5, because you know they're going to be here with utility and we don't have any coordination because we're a ranked team. And you're also making it harder on yourself by like taking these weird fights. So you see how like there's just a bunch of weird like random like layers that we're just like missing. And we're not even like playing bad. Like we're not it's not like our aim's bad. We're still finding good fights, but you see what I mean. Same thing. What's the problem?
I think, yeah, just not playing with the team. I was just on a separate side.
Not 100% play. Yep.
And then the Omen kind of, I didn't swing as fast as I could have probably with the Omen.
Yep, true. Both of those things are good here. So yeah, you just kind of put yourself in a spot where like you split up from your teammates, and so if you're gonna do this, you need to be ready to fight off your Omen faster, like you just said, right here. But or you could just go play with your Teo. Double up, sit here. He's got this angle. Let them run out, especially because they ulted back sight. And now obviously it's a bit of 2020, like it's a bit of like, oh, I was able to see, you know, this is a bit of post round, like whatever. I saw it happen after, so it's easier to say. But it's also just unfortunate that you get your ass there.
Wait for heal to die.
Cool.
I think Ascent, like attack side, probably like the most uncomfortable place for me, just because like it's just not like the right map for like a ranked 5-man kind of rush.
Yeah, this is a hard map to 5-man on. It's also the most played map. People are used to this shit, so this is all true. Okay, cool. I mean, anything else you want to talk about? Any other questions right now?
No.
Okay. Well, how'd you feel about everything? What is some key takeaways?
I think just being have that kind of mini map awareness of the teammates rather than like, because when I look at the mini map, I'm trying to look for like where they could like go up, because like my team isn't watching it, but I could definitely try to use the mini map more for like playing off my team. Yep,
that's one thing. And then yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest thing I think when it comes to just your fights. Overall, you had decent positioning and decent fighting, but like you could just make your life easier if you like do more of that, basically. And the other thing is like give yourself more like plans, like give yourself more options. That doesn't mean you just set yourself too thin and like divide up too much, but you just kind of never like you never really had a way to get back into that game because you just did the same thing every round, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing I would say. You should just kind of keep up and work on it a little bit. But other than that, like you have a decent mind for the game, which is important. Like I said, you would much rather be in this position where like you're thinking and doing shit, but it's just not working right now. But just continue to keep thinking about more stuff, and it'll eventually all start to come to fruition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just keep like testing things and seeing what works.
Yep, pretty much. Cool. Oh yeah. All right. Got any questions?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right,
Really
dude.
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. If you need any other questions, like send me pictures or like let me know how your progress goes. Like keep me posted on all that. And like I said,
Yeah.
if you have anything, just feel free to message me. I'll happily talk to you about it. So
Yeah, thanks a lot.
of course. All right, dude. I will. I'll see you around. I will be here if you need
Yeah.
anything.
Catch you later.
All right. Peace.